Everybody got enlightened. They passed the class.
All right, Lee. All right, Lee.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Are we ready to move on or?
No, let's just stay here.
Or after lunch? Nap?
Yeah.
Yes. This is always our most difficult hour, that first hour after lunch. Don't ask us hard questions.
Oh. Yeah, I remember when I was in college taking microeconomic after lunch. Oh my gosh. And it's a big auditorium, about 100 people in there. I have to sit at the back because, you know, I don't want people to hear me snoring. So, okay. Are we missing one person?
I don't know exactly who's student, who's auditor. We're 4 people shy of what we were before lunch, but I don't know if those were auditors or students. So, but we're at the time to start, so they'll just have to pop in late.
Yes. Okay. We were at, let's see, at the 3 stream of thoughts in Buddhism, you know, according to Venerable Master Insun, he boiled down to like the 3 major schools of thought. So the number 1 is Madhyamika, number 2 is Yogacara, and then number 3 is the Tathagata Gaba. So let's look into a little bit the school of Madhyamika, what we call the middle way or the school of emptiness. So it's composed based on, you know, these three sastras. Okay, they're not suttas or sutras; they're sastras. So 2 of them are from oh, I missed one. Oh, well, no, it's here. Okay, the number 1 is the Madhyamika, based on the Madhyamika Sutta. Okay, and then they will have, and then we have this is what we call the middle view. And then this one is the 12 gates. And then that one is it says 400, but you know, in Chinese it's called 100 Sastra. And then the middle one here, the Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra, this one is very important, okay? But that's composed by Nagarjuna. This one, actually, a lot of the later text was based on it. For example, the sequence of Buddhi path, Sastra is based on that. Let's see, what else? Venerable Insun, like the way to Buddhahood, a lot of the information that come from the Mahaprajna Paramita Sastra. Okay, so those are the texts by Nagarjuna, very important ones. Yogacara. So started with, see, Yogacara started with Maitreya, right? Remember that? Started with Maitreya, then Asanga, then Vasubandhu, and then go on with Dhammapala, I believe. So it's, let's see, Asanga, Vasubandhu, Dhammapala. Well, you don't have to remember those, but you know, there is a lineage for that. The Abhidhammakosa, it started with the verse and then its explanation later on. Now, the 20 verses are verses, 30 verses are verses. Xianzhang, when he did the, when he did the 成唯识论, he did explain the 30 verses, not only translation, okay? But his disciple, Kui Ji, actually make commentaries on the 20 verses and also the 30 verses. So, but we will get to that because, you know, this is one of the syllabus that we have to study. So the next one is the Tathagata. So it started with the Avakosa. That is the founder of this school. Then the text is Awakening of Mahayana Faith, okay? Then it's based on the sutra from Lankaravata Sutra and then Mahanibbana Sutra, those two. Starting from Mahanibbana Sutra, that, you know, the idea of Tathagata Gaba generated from there. I believe that there is a student or friend asked the question, you know, where are those Mahayana Sutra origined? It's not, you know, it's not like the Pali canon that, you know, we have Ananda recited the sutta, we have Upali recited the Vijnana. The Mahayana Sutra, like I said, like we studied before, it's not a separate sect. It's based on the Buddha's teaching. Then it's more of like a developmental. So we cannot pinpoint, say, okay, this is from this group, this is from that group, but they do have basis, okay? Like the Prajna Paramita Sutra, when we go back to the lineage chart for the schism chart, you can see actually at the bottom of it, the idea, the philosophy generated throughout the years, not just, you know, 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay. Now, the key difference, it's because they have different viewpoints on emptiness. For example, Samyutta Nikaya 335, it talks about emptiness. That sutta, it's very short, but various schools interpret that sutta, like the Yogacara school will interpret what is emptiness. And then even, you know, the Sarvastivadians, they have their idea of interpretation. The Sutrantika interpreted it differently. And coming to Nagarjuna, he interpreted differently. So the Mahayana school and then its teaching are more like developmental. That is why a lot of people, especially, you know, in the southern lineage, which is the Theravada school, you know, people from that region would question about the Mahayana Sutra. Are they really spoken by the Buddha? Okay. Venerable Master Inshun has written a text about that. So he is actually a commentator in a sense. You know, remember we talked about the sutra teachers, the commentators, and he is actually So what happened is he pulled all these evidence and come down with the question of sutra or sutta spoken by the Buddha. What does that mean? Is it necessary from the mouth of the Buddha that we consider it is spoken by the Buddha, or is it from the explanation of the great disciples? Is it considered, spoken by the Buddha, or is it that the teaching matches the three seals that is spoken by the Buddha? So a lot of scholars and a lot of people were trying, still, up to today, are debating and arguing what is actually spoken by the Buddha. Of course, we know that the Pali Canon, no doubt about that, because it's it's actually recited by Ananda, the PA, the personal attendant. So it's not our position in this class to discuss that. We'll just accept that there are different schools that they translate and interpret what the Buddha taught or what the Buddha said based on whatever passed down to us. So we'll just pick and choose of what kind of technique, what kind of teaching that actually helps us to understand, to practice. So that's that. I think that's the end of introduction. So any question so far?
You said you were going to repost the files that you're using today, like this PowerPoint presentation. You were going to upload to Slack, possibly.
Yes, I will. Do you guys want it now, or I will post all the files that we go over today. So if you like to have it now, I think I already posted this one. Let me see.
I did not see it, but I could be. There was a lot of files, but
True. Let me see if I can pull this out and post it.
You can always do it later, though. It's not a huge ordeal, I don't think.
Okay, because I let me just put it together, and then hopefully I can organize it in a way that that it's not that confusing. Would that be all right?
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see what my agenda is. I have to go back and forth with. So the introduction is done. Right now, we will be going to the next topic, which is the Agama. Let me stop sharing first. And okay, now I posted 2 new slides this morning, very early this morning, because I'm changing things around, which I apologize that didn't do it earlier, but like I said, I'll repost it. Okay, see if I can share this. Guess what? I'm getting a little bit better. Oh, wait a minute. Did you guys see the slide or not?
Yes.
Yeah, we see it.
With a hand in book?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So I have to do it on my side. Okay. So here is the introduction to Agama and Nikai. This is a new slide that I post, but we can always refer back to the note number 1. I just want to make sure about one thing. Okay, so this one is actually already in the slide. I just want to make sure that on your end, if you haven't, pulled out the slide I posted this morning, you can refer to NA-1. But if you received this slide, this PPT file, then you can follow the PPT. So if you don't have the PPT, your NA-1 should be a introduction to Agama Nikaya. Start with the encyclopedia.com with the table, one side Agama, the other side Nikaya. So do you guys have that? That's it's not coordinated with with this one. So if you have that, if you don't have this slide, you can go to NA-1 and scroll down to page 2. I just want everybody to make sure everybody that follow. Let me see.
Well, I got that one.
You got the slide or the
I have the introduction. Yeah.
the NA-1, the Word file?
I don't know what the name of this was, but I pulled it up when I was looking for what you were currently working on. Yeah, it has a chart.
It has a chart, right?
And sectarian early Buddhism. Yep.
Yeah, I just uploaded the file to the Slack chat for the auditors.
Okay. So do you see this page?
Yes, I do.
With the map, with the chart, like development of early Buddhist school and lineage. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, you're sharing it,
Okay.
and I have my own copy.
Oh. Good.
Yeah, I got one on my phone and one on the computer now.
Okay. So this is from Edward Cohn's book. Oh, I think I moved it too fast. Okay. Now this is going to tell us, like the other map, it's going to tell us, the first schism. Remember we talked about that, the Mahasangikas and the Staviradas, actually it should be. So from here, we follow the line down, the orange line, all the way. You see the Theravada?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you can see that there are not only the Theravadins, at the same time, there are Mahisakas, down to there is Dhammagupta. Okay, so these are, I don't know what I did. I think I just pushed the wrong button again. Okay, because when I look at it, I can't see part of it. Okay, so what happened is the Mahasankhikas later developed into the Mahayana schools. So if we follow this orange line, then we have on the right hand, it's not orange anymore, it's called Sarvastivadians, down, and then the Sutrantikas. Okay, so if we think about the first council, when after the Buddha entered Parinibbana, 3 months, then start with the elders, this group here. Then, the Pali Canon actually passed down through Sri Lanka, right now maintained in the what do you call, in its original canon. So then Sarvastivadians, actually, they have another idea, even though they are still from the lineage of the elders. Okay, so this is just give us some idea of Nikaya. Nikaya, we know that there are, this is the, just the chart that I bring it up so that we remind us what's going on. So there is a timeline. The 4 Nikaya or 5 Nikayas doesn't come out at the same time. Even though, so the question is, we're talking about the first council when Ananda, Venerable Ananda, chant or recite the Buddha's teaching. Which Nikaya he did? It's the Samyutta Nikaya that comes first, okay? And the Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya comes first, and then the next one is Majjhima, the middle length. And then the Digha, it came from the verse and then developed. And then the last but not least, by the disciples of the Buddha, it comes with the Anguttara Nikaya. So those are the 4 Nikayas. So there is one more called Kundika Nikaya. That one, it's more a compilation or composition of various teaching put together. So this gives you some timeline of how the Nikayas comes up. So let's compare the Agama and Nikaya. So on the Agama side, it's part of the basket of discourse. Okay, one question. Why do we say that it's a basket of discourses? Does it remind us something?
3 baskets.
Yeah,
So this is one of them. Discourses is one of them.
okay. What are the other? How many are there?
2 others.
Okay, okay. So the other ones are what?
Abhidhamma,
Sutta and Vinaya.
Vinaya.
Yeah, very good. So Agama has the basic meaning of receiving. Agama means receiving, tradition, canonical, and then scripture, authority. Okay, Nikaya means both collection and group. So if you don't read Chinese, but if somebody reads Chinese, when you compare Agama and Nikaya, they will say Agama, Ahan, compare with the Theravadan, they will say that, like Samyutta, it would be connected discourse. Okay, so called differently. They said that this is the discourse. So it's a collection, a group. So in Chinese, it makes them a little bit more stand out. So Nikaya also denotes an ordination lineage, okay, and allowed to join performance of legal act of the Buddhist order. Agama is non-school specific. So is Nikaya. They are not school specific. So when we're saying that, okay, so is Agama or Nikaya coming from the original which school? Remember, we have the 18th school in the early Buddhist school. We have 18, right? But which school it come from? It doesn't come from any specific school. Why? Anybody?
Because it all came from the Buddha's teaching.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we cannot identify from which school. It's all the Buddha's teaching, right? The original teaching of the Buddha. So the next one is Agama. Other school also use Agama to justify it's neither Pali or Sanskrit. So we were talking about like maybe Agama translated from Sanskrit is not necessary, okay? But then Theravadan use the term of Nikaya specifically identify that, Nikaya actually in the Pali language. So there are 4 or 5 Agama, there are 4 or 5 Nikaya. The 4 Agamas are available in Chinese translation, like the Diga. Now it's talking about, where did it come from? We just mentioned that it doesn't come from any school. But now it says like Diga belongs to the Dhammagupta, the Madhya come from Sarvastivadian, Samyutta with 3 translations, and then the Ekotarika translate collection, all these from the Mahasankika. So why is it like that? But don't miss one word here. It's called Chinese translation. Okay, even though they are not school specific, but they actually translated by through this different schools. Okay, so but then Nikaya it's more straightforward. It preserved in the Theravada school, preserved in the Theravada school in Sri Lanka. So in this way, we'll understand that why some of the teachings or discourses that appear in Agama and not in Nikaya, vice versa, and vice versa. Okay, the next one is how do they mix and match? So there are 4 extant collections of Agama and one for which that we have only references and fragments. It's what we call the Kundika Agama. Now the 4 extant collection that, the 4 collections are preserved in their entirety in Chinese translation. Although small portions of 4 have recently been discovered. So we're still digging out information. Okay, then the next one will go and go through each one, like the Diga, the long discourse, then where, who translated it, how many sutras, each contains, like the Diga. In Agama, we have 30 sutras, while the Theravada Diga Nikaya, we have 34. So where is the other 4 in the Chinese translation? In the Agama, we don't know. So there must be something missing. So, and then a very substantial portion of the Sarvastivadian Diga Nikaya survived in Sanskrit. Okay, and some portions survived in Tibetan translation. So the next one is the Madhyamika, so we can read that, by ourselves. The Samyutta. Samyutta is very important. Now, Samyutta, the Chinese translation is called Za'ahan. That means, you put pieces of things together. Then when we read the Chinese, we'll think that, oh, this is not, not a complete cause, it's just bits and pieces. But actually, this corresponds to the Samyutta Nikaya, which is the first discourse or first canon basket discourses recited by Ananda. Okay, the information in there, it's amazingly profound and broad. So it passed down from the school of Sarvastivada. And here is the person who bring it to China. Okay, so there are some more backgrounds. I just want to show you this. I don't know if you have it or not, but like I said, I'll post this slide. Now the Samyutta Nikaya, it's considered the mother of all Dhamma. And it listed all these, all these importance, like it's the primary of all discourse, the earliest collection, the foundation for studying Buddhism. So it contains the teaching from the Buddha's enlightenment till his parinibbana. Okay, record the Buddha's teaching to various audience, learn about the Buddha in his originality. Through the study of Samyutta Nikaya to understand the fundamental of teaching of the Buddha, like the concept of connection to all matters. What connections? 5 aggregates, 6 sense, the limitless realms, happiness of the present and future life. That is the fruition, the cause and consequences, right? Reasoning includes the 12 links of origination, the Four Noble Truths. Practice. Now, practice, we have like the 3 virtual acts, the 4 preliminary practice, the 3 learnings, and 37 prerequisites of enlightenment. And then it tells us, you know, the assets, realization, liberation, faith, experience, you know, all these are included. Everything here is included in the Samyutta Nikaya. So you might want to ask the question that how about the other 3 or 4? Now, for some of the, go back a little bit, go to the, let's see, or maybe we'll talk about that later. Okay, so here is another agama that, you know, we can trace it back to the Nikaya. Now the Ekatara agama, it's called numbered discourse. This is very interesting. Anguttara here in the Palis, for, you know, friends that who learn Pali, Anguttara means 1 up. Okay, so it's like 1, it's what? 2, 3, 4, it's, you know, listed with numbers. So if you have time, there is one translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi. You know, it's this thick. The book is this thick. Okay. So we have some explanation there. We can read it. Kundika. Kundika is it's good too. You know, I believe that we have studied the Dhammapada. It's part of it in there. Okay, collected in there. So how about translation of the Agama into Chinese language? So I have here list some orders and then the translators for each of the Agama. Now, this table tells us the principal teaching and the purpose of the Nikaya. Okay, so we know that Agama and Nikaya, they correspond to each other in some of the discourses. Some of them, missing here and there, but the basic principle and purpose of teaching of Agama and Nikaya is in this table. Like, for example, the four Nikayas, okay? The Samyutta, it teaches, it teach the meditation techniques, practice of meditation, and then who are the practitioners. While the Majjhima Nikaya is aiming towards those with sharp faculties practiced by scholars. Then the Digha is spoken by the celestial beings. The purpose is to refute the non-Buddhist teaching or theory. Now, the Anguttara Nikaya is spoken by the Buddha, so teaching human and celestial beings, not only humans, okay? The purpose is to advise and encourage practitioners. So each Nikaya has their own goal or purpose. So, and then the next one, the Samyutta is to proclaim and spread the actuality and truth. Now, the Majjhima is to destroy the conceptual proliferation, which means the papancha, okay, and doubt. Diga is a blessing and joy. Anguttara is to satisfy and fulfillment of wishes. So when we go down the column, then we'll find each, the purpose of these teachings. Because this is very important. I would say that not necessarily memorize, but at least able to explain the purpose of the different agama or nikaya. Even though it says, nikaya, but it works for both agama and nikaya. So this is one of the table that maybe we should pay attention to. Excuse me, my throat is getting a little bit scratchy. Okay, so the Yogacara Bhumisastra, this commentary point out some of the key teachings of the Buddha. Okay, this is just for reference, that if we want to understand what the Buddha taught, it talk about, the sentient being, which is the aggregate, how they function, the sense basis. So how do things arise? It's the 12 links. Then, how to sustain, that is the 4 nutriment. What are the truths? That is the 4 noble truths. So how do we compare, with ourselves, with the aggregate to the external world? We have the 18 dhatus and the or the rims or elements, okay? So the Buddha, who are the teachers? It's the Buddha and his disciple. So the matter of the teaching, this means the technique. So what do we use? The 4 foundation of mindfulness, okay, which is the Satipatthana. Then there is something called the Gatha. Gatha means verses, the utter, either by the Buddha or by people who explain it. Okay, so here are the groups that are able, that we'll see from time to time, that will, speak in short verses. When we read the sutta or sutras, you see, like if the Buddha gave a discourse and the devas or the celestial beings would would praise the Buddha, so they utter a short gatha, okay? So those are the key points that of the Buddha's teaching. So far, any question?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
So we always say that the Khuddaka Nikaya does not exist today in Chinese, right? But are there not parts of it that exist in Chinese? I mean, do you have Jataka tales, for instance?
Actually, the Khuddaka is not exist. It's the Khuddaka agama. It's more like bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces, yes. Okay.
Right. So for example, the Dhammapada, you cannot find in any of like the Diga, Madhyama, Samyutta, or the Ekotara. You cannot find it there. So where do we find it? We find it in the Kudaka Agama. Okay. Like the Kudaka Agama, you find the previous life, you know, of the Buddha. So all these bits and pieces, they will, you know, they just put it together and call it, you know, Kudaka Agama.
And many of the parts do exist in Chinese translations or Tibetan translations. We just don't have the whole set.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't translate into, actually it does. Okay. Diga, it's a long discourse. Madhyama is a medium length. Samyutta is called the miscellaneous, okay? The Ekotara, it's called the numerical or number or one up. In Chinese, it's actually 真一, so it's one up. Now the Kudaka, it's called the small version, 小品. So it does have a Chinese name, you know, translation there.
And some of the parts of it exist in Chinese translations, but not the whole thing.
I would say if we compare, later on we will have a, this is just introduction. Let me see, I can find, let me see if I can find the, I think I also sent it out, but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, is that the end? Maybe not yet. Okay, let's go on. Okay, I just want to find out. Nope. If you, there is a, let's see. I should have that in here. The principle. Did I miss that? Hold on, just 1 second. If you go to the handout, NA-1, I don't know if everybody have that. It's called Introduction to Agama Nikaya. I thought I put it in, but you know, I lied. Okay. Let me see if I can send this out to.
It's in there.
Is it in there?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we have,
Do you see a table? Do you see a table? This is introduced to Agama and Nikaya. Do you see a table say the essence of Agama?
yes, we have that.
Comparing Agama with Nikaya. Do you see that?
Yes,
And then 5 Nikaya, Pali Canon, 4 or 5 Agama. Did you see that? Do you guys see that?
yes.
Okay, good. So you scroll down to the Kundika Nikaya, or the Kundika Agama. It says the small discourses, totally of 15 parts. So we did maintain that Kundika in the Chinese version. Does that answer the question?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I think that, yeah, that's it for the introduction. Okay, now, did you, anybody read those two suttas before coming to the class?
I got most of one done.
Yeah, I didn't finish reading all of them.
Okay, that's okay, because we are going to go over it anyway. So let's see, let me pull my file up. Okay, the first one is the 22.57, right? Would you like to read it? I put two versions out. One is translated by the Bodhi. The other one is translated by Thanissaro. Of course, the key points or the main theme is the same, but then, they do have, the translation vary a little bit. So if I was going to ask if anyone that read both of them, can you tell us, can you sense, point out the differences of viewpoint or different points of translation? If not, that's okay too. So would you like to, anybody would like to read? Let's go with Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation. Would Sherry want to read or
Okay.
Frank? Okay, good. It's very short, it's not that long.
At Savatthi, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu who is skilled in 7 cases and a triple investigator, is called in this Dhamma and discipline a consummate one who has fully lived the holy life, the highest kind of person. And how bhikkhus is a bhikkhu skilled in 7 cases. Here bhikkhus, a bhikkhu understands form, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation. He understands the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of form. He understands feeling, perception, volitional formations, consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation. He understands the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of consciousness. And what bhikkhus is form? The 4 great elements and the form derived from the 4 great elements. This is called form. With the arising of nutriment, there is the arising of form. With the cessation of nutriment, there is the cessation of form. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of form. That is right view, right concentration. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on form, this is the gratification in form. That form is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in form. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for form, this is the escape from form. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known form, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of form, are practicing for the purpose of revulsion towards form, for its fading away and cessation. They are practicing well. Those who are practicing well have gained a foothold in this Dhamma and discipline. And whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known form, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of form, through revulsion towards form, through its fading away and cessation, are liberated by non-clinging. They are well liberated. Those who are well liberated are consummate ones. As to those consummate ones, there is no round for describing them. And what bhikkhus is feeling? These are the 6 classes of feeling. Feeling born of eye contact, as in the preceding sutta. Feeling born of mind contact, this is called feeling. With the arising of contact, there is the arising of feeling. With the cessation of contact, there is the cessation of feeling. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of feeling. That is right view to right concentration. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on feeling, this is the gratification in feeling. That feeling is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in feeling. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for feeling, this is the escape from feeling. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known feeling, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of feeling, are practicing for the purpose of revulsion towards feeling, for its fading away and cessation. They are practicing well. Those who are practicing well have gained a foothold in this Dhamma and discipline. And whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known feeling and the escape in the case of feeling, as to these consummate ones, there is no round for describing them. And what bhikkhus is perception? There are 6 classes of perception. Perception of forms to perception of mental phenomena. This is called perception. With the arising of contact, there is the arising of perception. With the cessation of contact, there is a cessation of perception. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of perception. That is right view up to right concentration. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on perception, this is the gratification in perception. That perception is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in perception. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for perception, this is the escape from perception. Whatever in ascetics and Brahmins, as to those consummate ones, there is no round for describing them. And what bhikkhus are volitional formations? There are these 6 classes of volition. Volition regarding forms, volition regarding mental phenomena. This is called volitional formations. With the arising of contact, there is the arising of volitional formations. With the cessation of contact, there is the cessation of volitional formations. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of volitional formations. That is right view up to right concentration. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on volitional formations, this is the gratification in volitional formations. That volitional formations are impermanent, suffering, and subject to change, this is the danger in volitional formations. The removal and abandonment of desire and the lust for volitional formations, this is the escape from volitional formations. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins, as to those consummate ones, there is no round for describing them. And what bhikkhus is consciousness? There are these 6 classes of consciousness. High consciousness up to mind consciousness. This is called consciousness. With the arising of name and form, there is the arising of consciousness. With the cessation of name and form, there is the cessation of consciousness. This noble eightfold path is the way leading to the cessation of consciousness. That is right view up to right concentration. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on consciousness, this is the gratification in consciousness. That consciousness is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change, this is the danger in consciousness. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for consciousness, this is the escape from consciousness. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of consciousness, are practicing for the purpose of revulsion towards consciousness, for its fading away and cessation, they are practicing well. Those who are practicing well have gained a foothold in this Dhamma and discipline. And whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of consciousness, the revulsion towards consciousness, to its fading away and cessation, are liberated.
Sherry, your mic.
Sherry, yeah, I think you're on your microphone, Sherry.
Where did it stop? Sorry, where did you have trouble hearing me?
You can't hear you. Something's covering your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
There it goes.
Is it okay now? What was on?
Yeah.
Okay. So how far back did it stop?
Top of the page, I think.
Top of the page? Okay. Whatever ascetics and Brahmins, having thus directly known consciousness, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to its cessation, having thus directly known the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of consciousness, through revulsion towards consciousness, through its fading away and cessation, are liberated by non-clinging. They are well liberated. Those who are well liberated are consummate ones. As to those consummate ones, there is no round for describing them. It is in such a way, bhikkhus, that a bhikkhu is skilled in 7 cases. And how, bhikkhus, is a bhikkhu a triple investigator? Here, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu investigates by way of the elements, by way of the sense bases, and by way of dependent origination. It is in such a way that a bhikkhu is a triple investigator. Bhikkhus, a bhikkhu who is skilled in these 7 cases and a triple investigator is called in this Dhamma and discipline a consummate one who has fully lived the holy life, the highest kind of person.
Thank you very much. So what is the core teaching here? Looks like there are 3 things that we have to know. It's danger, gratification, danger, and escape, right? Those are the, 3 things. Then we add that to I have to pull my, we add that to what? to make it 7. Do we know?
The Four Noble Truths.
Yes.
Origin, cessation, knowing it, origin, cessation, and the path.
Yes. Very good. So, but there is one condition. The keyword. What is the condition on that one? The keyword on that one. It repeat and repeat and repeat those words. Those,
Directly know.
known.
yes, we have to directly know, not just by hearing, by thinking, dreaming. So that means we have to directly experience it, right? Am I correct? Okay. So the key thing is, for example, now, you know, we, what's going on right now with the COVID-19, that we hear about it. We know that it's dangerous. We know that it's contagious. But I don't know if you guys come to know somebody who actually was in the hospital or is still in the hospital with a ventilator. So that kind of directly know, it's compared to what we hear or read from the news, or somebody said it to us. So that kind of directly know, it's very important. Let's go to the next screen. I don't know what happened. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here is the table. So directly know, it's like those directly know the 5 aggregate, the origin, the cessation, the Four Noble Truth, in other words, gratification, danger, escape. Those are practiced rightly and firmly based on these doctrines and discipline. That's by Thanissaro. And Bhikkhu Bodhi would say that gain a foothold, a solid foundation of the Dhamma and discipline. Okay. And then also revulsion towards form, feeling, relation, and all these are actually, when we do that, one will liberate by non-clinging. That means detach from the form, from the feeling, from the perception, from volition and consciousness. So what are those? Those are the 5 aggregates, right? Okay, so go back a little bit to the table. Okay, so we have all these at the top, all the 5 aggregates are up there. So what do we know? Take an example, suffering directly know. So regarding to the form, then we have to directly know that if we cling to this form, what is this form? This form is nothing but a composition of the 4 elements. So the 4 elements are changing, right? Say my hand is very stiff. So that is the domination of the earth element at that moment on this part of the body. Then later on, when I massage it, or even, I don't, it'll stay for a while and then it will become, start to fade away for 2 things. Actually, it could be the muscle is still stiff but my mind got sidetracked on something else. So the feeling of the stiffness, it's not that dominate anymore, or it's actually, it's tighten up, okay? But then when we watch it, we can see that this element of the earth with a characteristic of solidity, it won't stay there forever. Whether, our attention is away, or whether, by itself, the other element dominate at the time. So it's changing. But then especially when we meditate, the sense or the observation will be more clear, because our mind will be more steady. We'll be able to observe that the four elements are not staying at one time at one place. So it keeps changing, but we'll be able to observe the characteristic of those four elements. So realizing that, understand that, directly know that, then we will be able to detach from it. So when we get sick, for example, I've been having neck pains and knee pains, but if I continue to whine and then worry about it, then we are heading by the two dots. Okay, so if we understand that this is going to change, then gradually we will not attach or cling to these form anymore. It's just like another example is that I used to dye my hair because I don't want to look old, right? But then come to the point that from 3 months to do it once to every month I have to dye it. And then finally I kind of like, okay, so what? I'm attached to this specific looking or form, which is changing anyways, no matter what I do. Getting old is one of the process. This body is just like a machine. When you use it for 70 years, it's bound to, fall apart anyway. So detachment. This is, why we have to learn all these. Feelings is the same, perception, relation, and consciousness. So each one that they do have their own classification or way or antidote to deal with it. Now, another thing here, important word here, is the word contact. Okay, contact. Say if we have this pair of good eyes, I don't have to wear eyeglasses. So my physical form of the eye is very healthy and it works very well. But then I go into a room totally dark. So is my eye consciousness function? Can it function at the time? Can we see anything in a way, set? So our eyes has to contact on the external form, which needs a condition of light and color or shape. Each sense door has their own function, okay? So when the contact kicks on, then our eye consciousness will be able to function. And then, but if the condition of contact is not there, then unfortunately, even if we have a 20/20 eyesight, we cannot see quote unquote. So contact is another important word. And it's not just external contact. We have internal contact also, okay? We'll get to there when we do the Abhidhamma. Then another important word is called the nutriment. So there are 4 nutriments. There are 4 nutriments, okay? Let me find that later on. The first one is edible food, that we need the food to sustain this body, right? Then the second one is the sense impression. So that is like, as a human being, our mind constantly is excited or irritated by the sense impression, okay? So we need that to get our mind going. Then the next one, the third one is volition, thoughts, okay? This is the nutriment for rebirth. We say, for example, I want to go to England. I do have to do it like mentally. I have to generate the will, the wish, the intention to go, okay? Then because human beings, we treasure and cling to this body and mind, this 5 aggregate very much so. So it kind of become a force or energy that push us towards the will of being existing. Then it is that kind of energy that we are going through the cycle of rebirth. The next one is the consciousness. This is more complicated. So the consciousness, not only that allow us to see, like when the eyeball contact with the external object with the right condition, like light, shape, or color, then the eyeball itself is not doing anything. It stimulates something called the eye faculty. Then the eye faculty would be able to kick on the eye consciousness, okay? And then the eye consciousness, the function of it is just to see, able to see. Oh, my eye is seeing something. Immediately, the 6th consciousness would take over that eye consciousness and say that, oh, this is a computer, okay? So that is what's going on with the nutriment. We constantly need all these 4 nutriments as a human being to function. Any question about that? Do I expect that? No. But it's good to know that. It's good to know that we need that information, or else when we when we go over this table on item number 3, it says cessation. Then it says with cessation of nutriment. Then we'll say, okay, what is the cessation of nutriment? That means we don't feed the form with the food, like the form, then we die. Simple. Okay. So the next one is feeling. Feeling is like, okay, if we don't contact, then, you know, if I don't see this computer I really hate, then my feeling, negative feeling, won't come out. If I don't see somebody I really don't like, the anger the objection, the repulsion won't come up. So cessation of contact, cessation of feeling, cessation of perception, contact, cessation of perception, cessation of volition, cessation of cessation of contact, cessation of volition. Okay, then it comes to consciousness. If cessation of name and form, then there is no consciousness. So, though we're talking about the suffering, origin of suffering, cessation, the path, here we also include the 12 links of depending origination. So it's not just, simply a table, putting words in there. Now come to gratification, because, the path, we know it's the Four Noble Path. Gratification, like with the form, then in the hot summer day, I have a chocolate milkshake. Wow, it's pleasure and joy. Okay, so we like it. Then what is the danger of it? The danger is that, like, I cannot have it 24/7. And then also with my blood sugar, if I have it, it's a danger to have like intake of how many units of sugar. Okay, even though by taking it, it gives me happiness and joy. So realize that we'll be able to remove and abandon the desire and lust for form. Okay, then we go to the next one, feeling, perception, relation, consciousness. Nutriment, as far as you understand, that's okay. Contact, will revisit it from time to time, even in the next sutta. But to understand this 7 cases, I think it's important. So we talk about the 7 case and also the 3 observations, right? It should be in your note there. Now, what are the 3 investigations? The 3 is investigate by way of element, investigate by way of the sense spaces, investigate by way of depending origination. Here is the difference from the Agama and Nikaya. Now, we said that it matches. Agama is like SN, Samyutta Nikaya, Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya 22.57. It, in the Agama, it has another, okay. In the Agama, they have a different version. Same thing about the 4 elements, about the gratification, about the danger, and then the escape. Same idea, same theory. But then, according to Venerable Master Insun, he explained that all these are okay. Everything matches, except in the Agama, it explained like this. The 3 investigation, we just talk about the aggregates, the aggregate means the elements, right? And then the sense basis, but it include the depending origination. In the Agama, it's a little bit different. It talks about the 5 aggregates, the sense basis, but it talks about the dhatu, the realms. So Venerable Master Ancient mentioned that this 3 kind of investigation cannot leave the activity of the mind and body. This is actually the real meaning of the Agama compared to realm, sense basis, and depending origination. So in the Nikaya, it says the form, all those 5 aggregates. It talks about the sense basis, but it also includes the depending origination. Remember, we talked about that. But according to Venerable Master Ancient, it would be more close to the meaning of this sutta to talk about the aggregate, sense basis, and realms. So that is the difference. But I think, at this point, it's too detailed to understand. It's too detailed to do that. So let's just stick with the 7 cases as, listed on the table. And also, for the 3 investigation, let's go with the Bodhi or Thanasaro's translation. So make it easier. So that means the 3 investigations are: investigate by way of the element, which are the water, earth, fire, air, space, and consciousness. Investigate by way of sense basis, that means observe and investigate the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Investigate by way of depending origination, the function of 5 aggregates that arising independent with the form, the sound, smell, taste, tactile, and phenomena. Now, when we read this, when we go back to the table a little bit. Okay. When we talk about the origination, the depending origination, we can look at number 3, cessation, directly no. Then, with cessation of nutriment, the cessation of form, so it all depends on, what is arising, what is cessation, what will cessate, then, it gives rise to the next one, okay? So this one is talk about, number 3 with the cessation is talking about more leaning towards the depending origination, okay? And then also gratification, it all depends on what gives the arise of, like, for example, the pleasure, each one of that. So that is why depending origination was focused. But then if we look at the investigation by way of depending origination, it lists form, sound, smell, taste, tactile, and phenomena. Those are the dhatus. So does it make any difference? Actually, no. It all depends on which part of the table that we are looking at. Very confusing, isn't it? Try a little bit to digest it. But then what we can do is at least get some idea of what this table is all about. Okay. Shall we take a break?
Please.
Okay. A lot of information. I understand it. Because when I prepared the notes, I was like, oh, no. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Don't worry. Okay. About 3 o'clock, we come back.
Okay. Fran, do you want to pause your recording? There should be a
Okay. 我冇 mute 到。你睇嚟啲。Hello? Are we back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, good. I'm trying to get my we're almost end the section. You know, then we go to discussion. Just want to add one thing on this sutra. I know, I understand that, you know, unless we have studied all these terms like nutriment, contact, you know, all these like the dhatus, the realms, that the sense bases, which we will revisit at this point of time. Don't worry too much about it. We will, from time to time, these concepts will pop up, even though we're saying that, you know, it comes from a different school, but then these concepts will come out. So at this point, as far as for understanding, we just need to know that the Four Noble Truths that are very important, that are part of the 5 cases. And then there are 3 more things. It's the gratification, danger, and escape. So all these are actually helping us to get out of suffering, okay? It says here, you know, if we actually understand what is the 5 aggregate, so to do that, we will be able to detached from ignorance. Okay, so if we practice these 4 cases, 7 cases, and then the 3 investigation, it will actually, lead us eventually to the liberation. So there are a few points I would like to continue, would like to share before we end the session. As far as for suffering, we have to directly know what is suffering. Okay. As far as for cessation, we have to know how to cut off the cause. Okay, not cessation, I mean the cause. We have to know suffering, cut off the cause of suffering by way of practice the Eightfold Noble Path. Then we'll be able to realize cessation. Okay, so 4 things. Know suffering, cut off the cause of suffering, practice the Eight Noble Path, and then we'll be able to identify ourselves with cessation. So just 4 things. So if we can, remember those, that is, and how do we do that? We have to observe 3 kind of observation, observe this aggregates, observe our sense basis, observe how it arises and cease, observe what is connected to the external. So that explains the entire table here. Okay, just to make it simple. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good. So with the detail, the table itself listed like that, it's because somebody tried to explain the sutra, so they do that like that. This is actually a translation from, not the Nikaya, from the Agama, the Chinese version. All right, then let's see. The next one would be the honey ball, the ball of honey, which is, we'll save it for tomorrow. And then let's open the floor for questions and discussion. I hope everybody can use the microphone so that, if you want to speak up. Any question?
Kathy, I mean?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, would you repeat what you just said, coming with the summary for this table?
Okay. So the entire table here talk about the 7 cases. What are the 7 cases? It's the 4 Noble Truths plus the 3 sets of investigation. So it's 7 truths. 4 truths plus the 3 investigation. Okay, so it becomes the 7 cases. All right. So what are the 4 truths? We know that, right? Suffering, cause of suffering, cessation, the Eightfold Noble Path. And then the 3 investigation would be danger, gratification, danger, and escape. So by way of practice, observation or investigation, we will understand that we will actually practice directly know the suffering is there, okay? Then we'll try to cut off the cause of suffering, right? Because, if we don't cut off the cause, then the suffering won't cessate. Then we practice the Eightfold Noble Path, we'll be able to realize cessation. So know the suffering, cut off the cause, practice noble path, and realize the cessation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else with the question? Because I just throw a lot of information, onto you guys. When I try to understand this, it took me quite a while to understand it. But, it's not that difficult, actually. It's not that difficult. So we can go to like any other point that you want me to clarify, not only on the Nikaya, but also, the introduction part of it. I know you would like to ask a question about, what you should focus on. I would say understand Nikaya and Agama. So at least, the definition of Nikaya, definition of Agama, how they compare to each other, like how do you say it? Oh, some of them are lacking in which way? I'm trying to find the. Okay, like the table that I put out, Essence of Agama, by Professor Yang Yuwen. Okay, that one will give you some idea. And then definition. I don't think you need to remember when did it, come to China, who translated it. Those, I just give you some information about that. Okay. Now the essence of Agama, again, the principle, teaching, and purpose. I think that table, it's pretty important. Okay. So for introduction to Agama, just the difference between Agama and Nikaya, and also the principle teaching. That would be more important. Okay. And for the sutta, for SN 22.55, just understand the 7 cases and the 3 investigations. Know how to explain that. That's, so far, just 3 things, right? Compare Agama with Nikaya, and then the principle teaching, a purpose of the Nikaya or Agama. Okay, in the sutra part, just understand that what are the 7 cases and the 3 investigations. You'll be able to explain that. Okay, so 3 things for today's Agama Nikaya. Now, as far as for introduction, you have to know what's the difference between sutra and Vinaya as compared to sastras. Okay, because if we don't understand that, remember, sastra is explanation of the sutra. That is, if we don't understand the sutra, we go to somebody who understand or know, that they explain. But if you go to 3 people, they will tell it differently. Because based on their faculty and understanding, they will interpret the sutra differently. Okay, so you at least understand that what are the difference between sutra and sastra. That's one. And then the other thing for the introduction, we have to understand that the difference between Mahayana and Theravada. Okay. Then for the 18 or 8 to 10 schools of the Mahayana Sutra, I think somebody asked me that question before, right? And then go to the table, we have like, I can't even find the thing anymore. But so let me see if I can get out of that. Remember, I put out the table and there are 18 differences, right? Am I remember correctly?
Yes, 18 differences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
That, you know, you say if I ask the question that, you know, choose 5, choose 9, then you at least name them and explain what are the differences. So that's for introduction. Another introduction question would be that, you know, when did they come to China? You know, based on the dream of an emperor. You know, I don't expect you to remember all those, you know, composition or compilation of the sutras and all those. But 3 schools that you might want to pay attention to is the Madhyamika, the Yogacara, and the Tathagata Gaba. It's just like the end of the slide. You know, it says the current 3 schools, because we are going to visit those eventually in this course. Okay, you don't need to remember who is the first patriarch and all those, but understand what they are all about. Like the school of Madhyamika, it would be referred to the middle way. Okay, it also called the school of emptiness. Yogacara is mere consciousness. The Tathagata Gaba would be the Buddha nature. Okay, so at least we understand those and be able to explain. Any question?
Patty, this is Josh. If
Hi,
nobody
Josh.
has any question, I got a quick one. I put in the chat here. Along with, I put a link to a Bhikkhu Analayo free lecture series giving the parallels, detailed parallels between Agamas and Pali, MA 1 through 20. But that's more for scholars, you know, and it goes along with his current project of translating the Agamas into English. So for any in-depth there. But the question I have in brief, because it's not really pertinent to the to this course so much because it's detailed. What are the prevailing opinions for Chan switching from the Lankavatara Sutra?
The Lankavatara Sutra is attributed to the Buddha nature. And it's more, it was adapted by Bodhidharma when he came to China, that he passed down 4 scrolls of the Lankavatara Sutra to his disciple, the second patriarch, Huike. So it is from Huike, from Bodhidharma onward until the fifth patriarch, Sun Can. He kind of switched from, paying attention more to the Diamond Sutra than the Lankavatara Sutra. The Diamond Sutra more leaning towards the teaching of emptiness or prajna. Because, when we read the Diamond Sutra, we know that, there is no, there is no person view, lifespan view, all those. It's trying to explain that all these phenomena are actually empty in nature. Okay, but the catch is that it's very difficult to define unless a practitioner or understanding a lot, excluding me because I don't, to realize that the Diamond Sutra, it's talking about sunya, talking about emptiness, talking about no intrinsic nature. But when it comes down to Huineng, the sixth patriarch, on his platform sutra, he still was talking about the intrinsic nature. There is a Buddha nature there, but it's very fine line, but it's not. It's way over our discussion here. Even Master Ancient, when he gave discourses about the Tathagata Gaba, he was looking on the two versions. One is the conventional truth. The other one is the ultimate truth. If we want to explain the Tathagata Gaba from a conventional truth, there is such a thing that is unchanged. And it's totally against the teaching that all phenomena are impermanent in nature. But if we look at it from the ultimate truth, then it's neither existing nor non-existing, neither arising nor non-arising. So the Buddha nature, we cannot say that it's existing nor non-existing. So it's getting into the argument of, do you want to look at it from the conventional side or viewpoint, or do you want to look at it from the ultimate side? Now, the problem is of a practitioner is that we read all these discourses, but at times it's very difficult to differentiate which angle that we are looking from. Okay, we talk about emptiness. So the Yogacara school and say that, hey, you talk about emptiness, but you cannot empty the emptiness, because your emptiness means that nothingness. So it all depends on which angle you look at it. Okay, but Madhyamika would come back and say that, hey, I didn't say that, if I say something is empty, I'm not establishing an idea of or concept that there is something that is empty. So you get into the argument of, what are you looking at, right? That is very interesting, but it takes a while to absorb that in, and we'll be able to, by the end, hopefully by the end of this class, if we don't fully understand, at least, we will be able to take glimpse or some idea, or even plant a seed that if somebody asks you, what do you mean by mere consciousness? Do you think that the sun, the moon, the mountains, rivers, they don't exist? Okay, then everything is created by your consciousness. So they have some basis of analyze it. And of course, this is a diploma class, then there is no room for us to go very deep and profound into it. But at least, we understand that, hey, there are different thoughts of or thinkings about how to interpret the Buddha's teaching. I think that's more important.
Yes,
So,
thank you,
yeah.
Kathy. And I love that. Well, the two truths kind of settles a lot of that. Looking at two truths, and I love the question, empty of what? And it's just fascinates me how the lineage changed, with that patriarch from that. And it's maybe politics were involved. I mean, I could just guess. I haven't really looked into that, but it's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I just had a quick comment on Josh's question too. So, yeah, I read the Lankavatara translation by Bill Porter. He also goes under the name of Red Pine, and he's translated like the Platform Sutra, Diamond Sutra, a lot of other Mahayana texts. And he starts out talking about how, the Prajnaparamita being the emptiness of dharmas, the Diamond Sutra being the attachment to dharmas, and then he said the Lankavatara Sutra is like the projection of dharmas, and how if we didn't project anything with the mind to begin with, we wouldn't have to see anything as empty. And he kind of argues in his commentary before he goes into the translation that the Chan eventually kind of went toward the Diamond Sutra more because it sort of was easier to reach more people, because the Lankavatara is so obscure. Like it kind of fits this incredibly niche group of individuals who kind of feel like a connection to it. And when I read it, there are definitely some things that I personally think like, wow, I really like this. This is really profound. But then at other times too, it becomes so fine and slippery. And I feel like he even said like in his, I can't remember what time they started to switch more to the Diamond Sutra, but just how it was kind of harder to almost like sell it. Like it was harder to get people into Buddhism being like, here is our text, try to read this. And then kind of being like, this is so obscure, and that's at least what Bill Porter said at the beginning. Was how it just kind of was more easily able to reach more people.
Yeah, part of the reason. So any other comment, question? I think, on the history part, on the introduction part, basically, because, this is a Chinese Sutra study class, so, or the Mahayana. So like I said, to understand the difference between Mahayana and Theravada would be very helpful too. Because, from time to time we'll say that, oh, you're Hinayana. Oh, what your sutra or discourses are not spoken by the Buddha. So there are arguments on that one. At least, we can understand where did they come from, where did they transfer, the teaching transmitted from one place to the other place. So that would help to understand why. And then, then they pick up on the way of transmitting, they pick up, local cultures and teachings also. That's another key point that we have to understand. So I know that this is academia, but because, I have been trained in Maba, that, the sutta, the learning, the teaching are like the pair of our eyes. It's a navigation function. And the practice is just like our legs. So we cannot do without any of one or the other. Because without the pair of eyes, we're just walking, maybe in circles, maybe bump into walls, maybe fall into waters. We need this pair of eyes to guide us. So understanding the Buddha's teaching by listening, by investigation, is just like we put in our eye drops to make, or put on our eyeglass to make the eyes clearer. Make sure which direction that we are going. Any more comment, question? How about the homework? Any question about the homework, the exams? At the end, we will have, on the 27th, we will have a mock exam. There, like I said, the Pure Land School and also the Lotus Sutra, which is the Tentai school, would be included in there. But for these 2 homeworks or essays, then we don't include those material because we just don't have time to put out, to include those and expect you guys to write an essay like quickly. A lot of information. I'm so sorry, because that's the syllabus. I try not to go too deep. I try not to, get into, but if you want to understand, take an example like the Abhidhamma Kosa. There is almost no way that I can just say that, okay, here is the Kosa, and this is, it's just like the sutta here, like what we just studied. I mean, this is almost, the more direct and easier way to understand. Just, extract out the 7 cases and 3 investigation. That's almost, on the very, what do you call it? It's not too deep getting into it. This sutta, if we want to go deep into it, we can actually go very deep into it, not just by those, few terms like nutriment, like contact, nutriment is another situation, like the 4 elements. We didn't even, we just mentioned, okay, here's the fire, earth, wind. We didn't actually go into like the 4 elements. Okay, which element, what are their characteristics? How do we deal with it? Okay, how do we, during meditation, how do we observe these changes of the element? Down to the point, it's the form, it's what we call the kalapus, the tiniest, the most subtle combination of particles that actually form this physical body. We didn't even, we can, go deep, very deep into it. But, at this point, like 7 case 3 investigation is, just to tell us this is the core teaching of this sutta. So, but don't worry, I mean, it's planting a seed, and gradually we will be going deeper. Trust me on that. Going a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why, the reason why I arrange the topics like this. Question, comment? As far as for homework assignment, 20.1 points or it's 20% will be about 5 pages. Okay. The next one would be 15 and 5. I, draw out the 5% specifically on Tathagata Gaba for a reason. When you look at the schools, the 10 schools, 8 schools, you will see that, which school is actually focused more on the stream of thought. And you can see a lot of the schools are leaning towards Tathagata Gaba. Okay. Because if I say that, if somebody say to me that, you can never be a Buddha. You can never be liberated. Okay. Because you don't have the faculty. So what would I do?
That's not correct.
Right? So first I will be scared.
How do you know?
Yeah, and why do I have to learn Buddhism then? Why do I have to practice? Right?
Yeah.
So that is why it's so popular, widely accepted. Okay. Now, Yogacara, on the other hand, it says, there are 5 groups of people. One of them is never become a Buddha. Never be enlightened because they don't have the faculty. Okay. So when I hear that, oh, which group am I in? I don't know. So Tathagata Gaba, it's come up latest. The kind of thinking or philosophy come up, latest in India. So, but it's so popular in China and all over Asia right now. There is a reason to it. So what do you guys think? Would it be too fast, too slow, too much information?
Information's good. How to absorb it all? That's the question. But you're already saying that we don't have to absorb it all, right?
No, no.
Not right now, anyway.
But it's good to know, right?
Yeah.
It's good to understand. So keep in mind that the purpose of the mission of this class, of this, course, keep in mind that, when I, at the end of the day, at the end of the class, that somebody asks you, why is it so important? Why is Chinese canon is so important? Okay, so at least we can say that, hey, we have this, major streams of thoughts that influence almost everybody in the Buddhist community. Right?
Right.
So let's see.
Anybody else? I had a thought on, I want to see what maybe other people feel about it. But when I was directly no, when I think of directly no, I was thinking to know viscerally. And my understanding of viscerally is that when somebody says to know, well, viscera comes from gut or your intestines, right? So it refers to knowing it in your body. But I believe there's an understanding, an unstated understanding when people say viscerally, that of course your mind knows it as well, and that visceral knowledge is a knowledge of your whole being, not just an intellectual knowledge.
Mm-hmm,
It's your I don't want to say soul necessarily.
You can say that, no problem.
Your mind and your soul or whatever. Yeah. Knowing it completely.
How about conscious?
Consciousness. Yeah.
Okay. So the goal is that why do we study? We want to get out of suffering, right? We want to liberate ourselves from the samsara. So that's the goal. So how do we get there is the question. How do we get there would be the question. So we have a certain, amount of idea of like that we have to admit whether we like it or not. We cling to this body and mind very much so. Do we agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So if we cling to this body and mind that much, and then we don't want to get sick, we don't want to die. So how do we detach from this clinging and craving? There must be a way of doing that. Okay. So clinging to this body, then we know that, how do we detach from it? So we know that this body is not going to sustain unless we eat, we put food in there. Okay? Then that is a knowledge that or understanding. Right? So
Right.
that involves in the 4 nutriments, one of the nutrients. And then when I got sickness or pain on the body, we directly know because the pain is there, right? It's some kind of sensation that happened on this body. No doubt about that. Compared to when we read the medical website about, okay, if you have this pain, you're doing the symptoms and all those. Those are the intellectually known.
Yeah.
Because it's not hitting the physical body. Same thing with mentally. If we see somebody, say, pass away, we sympathize, we feel sorry, but we don't directly know. We understand, but we are not them.
Yeah.
Right? Until I, myself, is dying. So all these situations we would be able to practice or cultivate or develop these knowledges by understand what the Buddha was talking. How do we do it? Okay, so it's not there is a soul that understand or something that is permanently understand, because our mind, the consciousness, change 17 times. How many times within a snap of the finger?
1,000?
Many times. Yeah, with the snap of the finger, the thought comes in and out, in and out, in and out. So we know that there is nothing that is permanently unchanged there with the mentally. Physically, we can also think about, when we were like 5 years old compared to now, like right now I'm 72. So I can see the change from young to adult to, all the way to old age. Physical body is easier to observe. Mentally, it's very difficult to observe because our attention are most of the time, I would say 99.9% is looking outward instead of inward. That's why the Buddha said that practice these 7 cases and investigate so that you can detach from all these clinging and cravings. Then you will be able to directly know that these are actually not permanent. This is nothing pure. This is not happiness. This is non-self. Okay, and that helps us by practicing, helps us gradually, not immediately, detach from what we cling to. Does that make sense? Or is it answering your question?
Sure. Sure. I was wondering if maybe that was I don't know, misleading, or whether this is to say it's a visceral knowledge, whether that's not quite synonymous with the knowing we're talking about, or whether it might be. I understand what you're saying, but I don't. Maybe it doesn't go far enough. But that's the problem with language, isn't it? It's not the knowing itself. We're trying to describe it.
Yeah. It's directly no. It's not at the intellectual level. It's more like, you have to experience it.
I wonder if you. It seems like we could have the knowledge without the complete physical experience. Like if you are observing, and you.
Okay.
If you are observing, and you see right now, okay, my body is starting to show signs of deterioration, or maybe breaking down, or aging, and you see that. And of course, you can see it around you, and so actually every day you're experiencing. I mean, past a certain age. Which is actually probably pretty young, maybe 20, maybe past a certain age, you're actually little by little you're starting to die. So is this enough of a direct experience of death that you can actually know it right now, rather than actually having to be in your last hours to have that knowing?
Okay, I see your question. Yeah. For a lot of people, they don't aware that they are dying from the day of birth. If we don't learn, the teaching, I mean, from time to time it will come across to the mind, but it did not. It's not like. I'm not saying that we have to worry about dying every minute, but we just have to realize the fact. But a lot of people, they don't want to face it.
Yeah, it's denial.
Right?
It's denial. It's much more pleasant to think about something else.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to play a game? Let's do that. Oh, let's forget about this nonsense. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah. So
long way off, right? A long way off.
I don't know if you heard about this example before. Just to compare. Knowledge is one thing. Wisdom is another thing. Okay. I used this example before, like say one day I was craving for an apple. So I decided to walk down to the orchard and get a fresh one. So when I got there, on the way there, I met Newton. And with
hey,
a big bump on his forehead. And I
You know,
said,
we live in interesting times.
yeah. And I said, what's going on? What happened to your forehead? And he said, Kathy, don't ever go sit down underneath the apple tree. Why? Because, you know, when the apples were ripened, they won't fly into the sky. They right, you know, directly onto your head, and it hurts. And by the way, I just discovered gravity. So I look at him, and he started to, you know, give me this XYZ equal to square root of what? And I look at him like, you know, are you crazy or something?
Yeah.
So that, and then he said that, you know, I'm going to write the book on it. So, oh,
Yeah. You
this
say
world,
that's nice, and you go about your day until you see the book come out, and you say, "Oh,
yeah, yeah. And I said that, you know, oh, that this world,
that guy."
this earth has gravity. So that's the knowledge that I learned, right?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, this guy is
Apple hitting
crazy.
your head, that's your experience.
Yeah. So I just went and sit underneath the apple tree. And it happened that day, you know, it was a very warm day. All the apples fall down on me. Now I realize, I directly know that the earth has gravity because the apple won't fly into the sky.
Yeah. It doesn't hover there.
Right?
It doesn't just hover there either.
So I do have the knowledge, but I really have to experience it myself. So your question is, you know, do you have to realize it, you know, on the dying bed? Not necessary. But, you know, the point is that not when do you need to realize it. It's that you, on the path, each step we have to understand and try to experience it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Good. So tomorrow we will go into MN 18, which is another very interesting sutta, but very good. The reason, like I said, I choose those two sutras is totally related to our own mind and body. That maybe I should, you know, it's time that we understand a little bit more about, you know, what's going on within this mind and body. Because, you know, the next big topic comes up with, next one is still on the theory side because, you know, it's very difficult to understand it, like, you know, Josh and Kyle just mentioned about the prajna part of it. So, but we'll have some fun. I would say let's treat this class as more like a learning process at the same time, you know, fun process. Any more question? I understand that some of us are worried about the homework. Don't worry too much about it. Like I said, you know, on the homework essay, it's about 5 pages. And also I will come up with 3 questions and you can choose one. I will post the slide. Did I already post the slide or didn't I?
I know there's one that wasn't in there yet. I don't remember which one now, but the one from this morning? No, I can't remember now.
I post 2 in the morning. One is intro to Nikaya Agama. So, but I will, you know,
the one with the 10 schools.
Okay.
So, because you do have one, I think it was intro 3. that had them, but it was different than the slides.
Okay, all right. I'll, match it back and then I'll post it later tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any more comment, discussion, question? I know that, it's very tired for you guys to, I just throw a lot of information, but I have to.
Yeah, we understand though. Right.
If not, do you guys want to take break or take rest for the day, or it's 3:54 and we're a little bit early, about 5 minutes.
I don't have anything, so if I could chime in real quick for like Zoom benefits, like majority of people have names attached to their account when they sign in. If when you come in the morning, can you make sure your name is displayed though, so that way when Venerable Kangyun takes attendance that it's easier. If you have some weird name that we don't know what it is, I might message you before I allow you into the room, just so it makes it easier for Venerable Kangyun.
I really appreciate you guys' patience, and hopefully from now on the handouts are not as messy, because I changed my mind for how to present them, because before I was thinking about just put out the Word files, but it doesn't seem very clear. So okay, so if there's no more question, shall we see you tomorrow?
Sounds good. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow then.
Okay, see you
Okay,
tomorrow.
see you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye. Stay safe, everybody, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.